Alright, so my Miata is now ready to roll. I got all the extended studs done. Then my brother came through and helped me finish bleeding the brakes. So I re-bled the entire system, topped off the master. Now the car is braking beautifully. We actually took it for a spin to start bedding in the pads. I'm able to easily lock up the front wheels, which is a good sign. I couldn't do that before, so obviously it wasn't properly bled. So now the car is basically sitting exactly how I want it. I have full brake pressure to the rears on the proportioning valve. I can adjust that a little bit more later, but for now I'm kind of happy with the way it's braking. Fronts are locking up first, as I said, so I'm good with that. If I autocross and I see something different, I'll tweak it so that the rears aren't overdoing the fronts, because it seems to be a common Miata thing, or at least with the factory proportioning valve. Probably now that it's set up with the Willwood, it's a little bit more balanced. So we'll see how that goes. Right now it seems to be holding very well. Really, this car is ready to roll. I'll probably re-register it and start driving it again. The only thing I really need to do is to get the AC working. The air conditioning has not worked on this car in the entire time that I've had it. I actually swapped motors, and has the motor and compressor that's in there right now came from a car that had working AC, and still my AC does not work on this car, so even when I charged it and everything. So my best guess is probably that there's some kind of electrical issue. It's common for Miatas to have an issue with the pressure switch on the compressor, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. So I'll look into that. However, ultimately, if I fix it or not, it's not a biggie, because I've got a K-Series engine that I want to put in here. It's going to be a while, but either way, K-Series is going to happen, and that has its own AC setup. So if I don't figure this out, oh well, I'll use the K setup in the future. But in the meantime, it'll be nice to drive this thing around a little bit more, get it out of the garage every now and again. So speaking of the K-Series, what I've got is a Honda K24 Z3. It's out of a later model Acura TSX. This was a spare motor. My cousin bought a rear-ended, I think it was rear-ended, or generally crashed, right, TSX. He has a nice one. His is auto. He wanted a manual swap, so he bought that car for that at an auction. That car basically got torn down. He got everything that he needed, but what he didn't need was the spare K24, because he already has one in his car. So he let me have it in exchange for my help, and so it's kind of here in my garage. I've got the transmission ready to go for him whenever he has time to work on a project. He's a very busy guy too, right? Wife and kids, happens. So let's go ahead and take a look at the K24, and I'll show you the steps I've taken thus far to start tearing it down. So here's the K24 Z3. If you're not familiar with Honda K-Series designations, Z3 or Z head motors, there's a specific name for the head, but I'm drawing a blank right now. But basically what makes it a K24 Z3 or K20 Z3 or Z whatever is the fact that the exhaust manifold is kind of built into the head. So you see that sort of unusual outlet there? You'll just put like an elbow there, and that goes out to your exhaust. This makes turbocharging these motors particularly easy, because you don't need a fancy exhaust manifold. Now, I've taken this guy mostly apart, just getting rid of things that I'm not going to be using once it's swapped into the Miata. Got all that down there on the ground, and all that's up for sale on Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp. Hopefully somebody that needs that stuff sees it and will purchase it. If not, I guess it's going, what is it, Marty and Moog like to say, in the bin. Yeah, so that'll go either to someone or to a trash can, either way. But this stuff I don't need, so I can get rid of. I've got the motor, which is the important thing, and I am itching to get this in. I'm seeing that a lot of people are putting these Z motors into their cars and seeing 225 wheel, which is fantastic. That's plenty of power. Obviously, if you're familiar with the K-Series, you know that the A motors are more preferable, right? Like K24 A2, for example, because it'll have a standard header which means that you can probably make more naturally aspirated power. Although, you know, and those also have VTEC on the exhaust, which this only has VTEC on the intake cam, not on the exhaust cam. But again, it's a toss-up. I mean, 4-piston racing has a head for these, and apparently these can do 300 all motor nowadays, you know, naturally aspirated, and that's a crap ton of power, especially in a Miata chassis. My car weighs 2,100 pounds, and this motor is aluminum. You know, it might not actually be any heavier than the stock 1.6 Miata motor. As a matter of fact, it might actually be lighter, believe it or not. So that's a pretty bulky 1.6, I guess you could say, and it's cast iron, right? So either way, car will probably weigh either exactly the same or slightly less. I know with the A2 motor, you end up weighing less in the front because that one you use a different subframe, which is also lighter than the stock subframe. One advantage cost-wise with the K24 Z3 motor swap is that you do not need a different subframe, right? That subframe is kind of a necessity with the A motor, so you have clearance for the header. So you can have a full, nice tubular header, whereas with a Z motor, because you're just going to have that elbow coming off of it, you can actually just work with the stock Miata subframe. There's some notching and stuff you have to do to fit the motor, but other than that, it's not a big deal. So you can see this motor seems to have continued leaking some oil, although it was drained of its fluids before it was pulled out of the TSX. Not really too concerned with that. That just probably means they left the oil drain bolt out, never put it back in, which whatever. I've got cardboard underneath it for that very reason. I had a feeling it would leak stuff, and it did. Either way, the K swap kit from K Power Industries will come with a different oil pan, so not really a big issue. So I'm excited to get this thing going. I'll show you guys how I tore it down. Just keep in mind that since I've just recently had a baby, this may be a while before it goes into the Miata. Right now, you know, cars are not necessarily a priority, but either way, I'm just gonna get myself as ready as I possibly can so that when I have the time and the free funds, I can go ahead and get this done. So as of late, I haven't really done too much car stuff. I've been working on the baby room build. You guys have seen those videos. But I got a little break, so I have nothing to do. It's raining outside. So I'm thinking I'll start doing some work on my K24 Z3 here. First things first is I've got to clean this thing up because it's looking a little worse for wear, right? And obviously, I'm not going to run this or this intake manifold. I'm kind of unsure what direction to go right now, simply because I originally thought to drop this in my Miata, but nearby me there happens to be a house where I drive by and I keep seeing this red MR2 just being allowed to just sit there and you know, kind of rot away. So I got it in my head that if I can go by there and get them to sell it to me at a decent price, I might actually do a turbo K MR2. If I do this in my Miata, I'll do this naturally aspirated and, you know, get as much as I can out of this motor naturally aspirated, and that's all it needs. I would not, I don't know, turbo Miata sounds cool, but part of the joy of the Miata is the pure, unadulterated driving experience, and I think that's best suited by a naturally aspirated motor. If I were going to do a KMR2, you're already bastardizing it by putting a K, and, you know, like, this motor really, like, it suits a Miata. It makes sense in a Miata. It's a modernization. It's something that's, you know, kind of a logical evolution of what the Miata motor was supposed to be, which was light, revvy, fun, right? This is obviously much better. It's more powerful. It's more modern. MR2 motor, especially if it's an NA MR2, like, no one gives a crap about that motor. And then, like, the 3S GT, you know, like, you know, that was turbo. It's heavy. It's outdated. And who cares, like, right? When you swap this motor into the MR2, you're kind of bastardizing it. You're taking away from the pure Toyota-ness of it, right? Because, like, Mazda is a... Emilio from 949 Racing said it on the Miata forums best. I think he said it was like, Mazda is a chassis company. Their motors are largely forgettable, with the exception of the rotary, which we would love to forget.
And then he said Honda is an engine company and their chassis are largely forgettable. And I'm sure all the Honda people are going to get pissed about that. And he, of course, mentioned certain Honda chassis like the NSX, the S2000, right? The ITR, the obvious ones that we all love. But I kind of agree with him. Honda motors are pretty much fantastic motors, and most of their chassis are just kind of whatever to me, except for the aforementioned ITR, NSX, right? S2000. I just like their motors, right? Whereas like with a Toyota has memorable chassis and memorable motors. So when you start swapping one with a non-Toyota motor, you're kind of bastardizing stuff, so may as well put a big fat turbo on it. And I mean, the cool MR2 was a turbo anyway, so why not? So first things first, this ugly intake manifold cover that covers the ugly plastic intake manifold. These are size 12 bolts. Go ahead and take those out. Don't know if this thing has enough battery power right now to undo it, but maybe not. Yeah, it does. Didn't figure those would be like super torqued on there anyway. Something restraining it. That's the hose. Okay. And what the heck else holds this weird little thingy? There's some other little bolted on point in the middle somewhere, but you can see it from the bottom. How the hell am I supposed to pop that up? Maybe just tug it? Okay, yeah, it just kind of pops on. That was like a screw. I'm like, how do I access that? Okay, so now I can see my super ugly intake manifold and the fuel rail. Cool beans. Do Honda people buy this stuff? Like, if I put this on offer up, what do I charge for it? I guess I'll clean it up and see if people sell these. Offer it to somebody, maybe with this intake manifold. Alright, let's get the spark cover off of here because I also don't want I have such a fat socket, won't go in there, so this I gotta do good old fashioned way. I don't want to do the old fashioned way. Even my old fashioned socket's a little fat. See if I don't have a thinner one around here. Unless I lost it. Which wouldn't surprise me. Story of my life. Losing 10mm sockets is apparently a thing now. I always used to see those memes and be like, that's dumb. I've never lost a 10mm socket. Years later, I lost all my freaking 10mm sockets. It's really aggravating. Alright, cool. So, change the adapter on my driver here. Alright, now we can see my K-Series valve cover. Definitely gonna have to get one of those like little carbon Kevlar caps for this. And I'm definitely gonna take this thing out and paint it because man is it ugly. Maybe, I don't know, either spoon yellow or wrinkle red. You guys tell me in the comments which one you prefer. I feel like wrinkle red is very classic, but then again so is the spoon yellow. I've done the yellow on a friend's S2000 and it's held up really well. I actually have that paint here at the house. If I have to do wrinkle finish, I have to get paint from somewhere. I'm thinking of painting one of my Toyota valve covers in that same yellow actually. I actually like it that much. But we'll see. What else do we take off this motor that we do not need? Right now, that's probably the bulk of it. See, this valve cover has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts holding it. Is that it? And then like random assorted junk, like vacuum lines, etc. This harness for my coil-on plug setup. Dope. I'm not gonna need the Honda style motor mount, so I can take those off too because yeah, not going back in a Honda. Alright, so the next part of tearing down this K-Series is get this front motor mount out of here. Or
I don't know what side motor mount it was, to be honest. It's going to be the front of the motor when it's in rear wheel drive configuration. 17 millimeter bolts on here. Hopefully I've got enough juice in this battery. Yep. Then get rid of these things. Looks like a smaller. Only 14. Yep, 14 mil. A pretty good condition motor mount. Probably list this thing up for sale. I'm sure somebody out there could use it. Alright, let's take that belt off really quickly. Crazy how tight that is on there. There we go. Alright, so to take off this AC compressor, I gotta undo this electrical connector. Then there's 4 12 millimeter bolts around here. Let's see if this thing wants to come out. I hate dealing with electrical connectors that have been crusted in place for a while. It's always not fun. There we go. That wasn't too bad. Luckily for me. Gonna be able to do those because of the angle. So I'll have to come in with the breaker bar. Alright, so bolt down here. Hilariously, like, you can't see them on camera, but I can't see it either from the angle where I'm at. I'm just feeling for them. Nah, can't get in here. The angle. Actually, just lean the motor over with one arm. Yes, there's always the
Hulk method of doing anything. Let me just lean the whole motor over. I wonder what it's still holding on by. Nothing. Nice. There we go. See, compressor's out. I won't be using this compressor with the Kmiata setup anyway. Moving right along on the list of things we no longer need, we have this motor mount here. This is held on by some 17mm bolts. We can just go ahead and impact those off as well. There's 4 of them. Again, not sure if I'll need to reuse these for anything, but I'll just hang on to them for now. That water neck is also going to have to go, but I'll leave it on for now. It's on the off chance that I take it off and I get a little tiny bit of liquid that's been here dripping onto my garage floor. I don't want to pick up any messes right now, so I really got to get this engine up onto a stand so I can finish the disassembly. Make it a lot easier to get rid of some of this stuff. Alright, so it's now time to get rid of this hideous plastic intake manifold, the throttle body that's there with it now. There's a bunch of junk attached to it, electrical and vacuum lines and such. It's got to go first. So I'm going to try to axe some of that stuff right away. So see right away there's this tube here and there's a connection off of it going to the throttle body. And there's another little vacuum line also clipped into the throttle body. So those are probably like seized on there. You always got to turn them. And that'll undo the seal that has formed from it being there forever. Alright, then you can usually tug them out. When I connect lines like these, I tend to lubricate them for that very reason, so that this surface doesn't seize to the rubber. Okay, now there's this electrical connector. It's just on this little bracket. That bracket here attaches it to the intake mani, so we'll get rid of this. Let's find out what size that is. Looks like a 10 mil. So that loosens that up, but now there's another little sensor type thing here. This is a much smaller size. I want to say probably like an 8. Yep, it's an 8 mil. The other one was a 10. Alright, got that out. So now that's loose. Next thing's right here. Another little vacuum line. It's rubber to plastic, so hopefully it's not seized up like
on the others, but it looks like it kind of is. Twist it a little bit, comes right off. All right, now there's these 12mm bolts around here, here that are holding the intake manifold on, or so I assume. So I'm gonna start undoing those and hopefully be able to get this big plenum out of here. There seems to probably be more junk in here somewhere that's bound to be held to something. So I don't expect that it'll come out right away when I do that, but start testing. All right. There goes nothing. All right, that's one. Should be one down here. I can't get it with this. This one I can. I think that's two. Let's see. Probably loosen up these little hoses as well. They're not in the way. There's three. This other one. Okay. This will require a little 10 or an 8, is it? 10. So get this bracket out of the way, then I can probably get my big impactor in there. You don't really need an impactor to undo these. They're not that tight, you know, but it's just easier. That kind of lets me lift some of this junk a little bit. And how's this? I don't know why they use different types of clips for some of this stuff instead of just using the same thing. Come on. Alright, that should hopefully have created the clearance that I need. Get in here. Beautiful. Okay. Now I basically just have this middle one. Hopefully I can get at it with these fat sockets I got, but nope. I need thin extension that I can get into this gap and undo that. Hopefully that's all I'll need. Let's see if I can undo it with this very small 12 I have. I don't think it'll have enough strength, but there goes nothing. There it goes. Glad that worked. Okay, looks like the strap will come out now. Alright, what's still hung up? Let's find out. So, it's a couple of things. Little thing here. Whole little
hose back here. Where else are we hung up? Electrical connector. Forgot about that one. Kind of important. It's the one that controls the throttle. There we go. That one's undone. Should be able to shift this junk backward. Get this stuff over it. Alright. And now, should just be a matter of undoing the last little hose attached to it. That's that. Ugly intake manifold gone.
So another thing I won't be reusing is this engine harness that's on here. So I can go ahead and just start unplugging it and removing it from the motor. So first, let's see, connector here. And of course, this connector's been on here for a while, so a little crispy. Not super bad. All kind of bracketed in place. Not necessarily easy to pull out. Another down here. I don't know what that is. Definitely be able to undo this one without too much difficulty. This piece here. Undo these coil pack plugs, pigtails on the coil and plugs. Okay, that's ready to go. Let's see about these injector connectors or injector pigtails. Okay, there's one. There's two. 3. 4. All 4 injectors are disconnected now. This thing should slide if I do this. Okay, so that can come out. This connector can come off. Okay.
Let's see. Plug on this side goes to the starter. That can come off. Let's disconnect the starter. Let's see. It's an unusual looking contraption. I think I probably have to like do something here so that this swings. There we go, and then it pops out. Nice. Got that off. Wonder if I'll be needing this other harness. I doubt it. Comes with the alternator and starter here. Probably won't need this one either, but let's finish getting this main one out. I think it's really undone from all the main connector points. Just I need to undo these grounds, and there's some grounds over by the injectors. Look like 10mm bolts, so gotta get those out to get the harness come loose. There's 2 of them. Okay, now I can kind of peel away this part of the harness. But, want to loosen this big thing off the back, so it's usually held on by some kind of weird plastic stuff. Let's see. Okay, doing that loosened it there. Assuming there's another one here. Not sure exactly how to unclip it. There we go. Okay. So there's one more connector hidden kind of down here. Got that. So we can kind of come over this way with this harness now. These vacuum lines are kind of in the way. So anything else connected? There's another connector hidden back here. Okay, should be able to pull the harness out this way now.
So the harness kind of plugs into the side here over by the edge of the motor. 10 mil bolt. It's got to come out. In order to undo the harness here. Then I'll try to like leave these bolts where they were just in case I need them in the future. I doubt it, but you never know. Better safe than sorry. Another one down here. And then there's the plug. There we go. So finally, the bulk of this junk will come off. And we've got one connector on the front, and we can get rid of this whole harness. I was able to get the harness out by kind of just squeezing that plug on the very end. It has like a rubber coat that makes it hard, or rather obscures the view of where you would squeeze it to undo it, but just kind of grab it at the end, squeeze down on it and pull it, and it came right out. So I still have another harness to take out and a couple other things, but I'm just going to call it a day for now, and later on finish taking this apart. I've also got to get my hands on the Kmiata swap kit so I can start putting on those components that go with it, including that like front cover for the different sensor and all that. So that's definitely going to come down the line. I've got to wait a little while before I do that because I've had a kid and have other priorities at the moment, but that'll come soon. And just stay tuned. More K content should be coming soon.